Reliability and long-lasting engines are associated with naturally aspirated drivetrains. Almost every manufacturer pumping out Turbo 3s, Turbo 4s, Turbo 5, hybrids, CVTs. It's no wonder a lot of these cars aren't built to last. But guess what? I've got a list of some of the best and most reliable SUVs that still have naturally aspirated engines coming up for 2026. I've been driving these cars for many years, and naturally aspirated engines almost always certainly last longer than a high-strung turbocharged engine. I'm going to share a list of 9 of the most reliable 2026 model year SUVs available on the market with naturally aspirated engines. Let's get into it now. Life's too short to drive boring cars. How do you determine reliability? Well, you look at the previous years. J.D. Power's results for 2025 are very telling because now in 2026 coming up, we now know exactly what some of these brands have been going through. That's why the first vehicle that I would choose that makes this list that has a rating of 80 out of 100 for overall reliability based on J.D. Power's 25 results is the 2026 Honda Pilot. Yes, it pilots a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6 engine, of course, 3-row SUV, 5,000 pounds, and on top of it, it is absolutely luxuriously appointed. Now, it doesn't come without some of its challenges. We've also heard that some of the issues that the Honda Pilots had was some of those V6 engines had some problems right out of the gates. There was a recall for a select number of Pilots, Ridgelines, and as well even Acuras that carry the same engine. It's unfortunate, but get around that small batch of bad engines, you have a very reliable drivetrain and one of the very few naturally aspirated engines left on the market. You don't buy something like this, you're stuck buying some hybrid CVT nonsense with a turbo 4-cylinder engine that nobody really wants. The next vehicle that I can tell you is likely going to last a long time. Now, there were some challenges, and it's the Chevy Tahoe. Yes, it actually has closer to 8,000 pounds towing capacity versus the Honda's 5,000 pounds. It also has 5.3 liter naturally aspirated V8 that makes about 355 horsepower and about 383 pound-feet of torque. It's an absolute lumber wagon on wheels. It's comfortable. It's essentially a downgraded version of a Cadillac Escalade with a slightly smaller engine. These vehicles are powerful. And as well, J.D. Power rates the 25 model as being around an 82 out of 100. So it edges out the Honda, but it does so in large capacity. This is a large SUV that's great for towing and lots more space. Now, the quality of the fit and finish isn't necessarily top shelf. There have been some problems with that 10-speed automatic transmission, but most importantly to note is that 5.3 is part of what has been problematic for the cylinder deactivation issues that a lot of these Chevys have gone through. Now, get past that, and I know somebody personally who's able to put in a module and bypass that. So if you can do a defeat, you're totally good, because this large V8 engine tackled onto a ladder frame suspension or chassis just basically means you've got a truck-like SUV that's built to last for hundreds of thousands of miles. The Chevy Tahoe, definitely for the win, and one you've got to take a closer look at. The next SUV you've really got to look at, it's a little bit bigger price tag to it, but it's a Cadillac Escalade, or Escapade, I like to call it. But nonetheless, the big slow-turning V8 engine produces a 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque, 7,900 pounds of towing capacity, lots of rooms for your friends, your relatives, your in-laws, and the dog and their cousin. Everybody can fit in this vehicle. It's large and in charge. It's bold. It's the favorite of many different embalmers across the nation. It's definitely a comfortable vehicle. The quality's a little bit down there, but when you get in front of the driver's seat and you look, the technology is definitely abound. It's a luxurious vehicle that feels the part. Now, it is GM and it's Chevy. It carries that 6.2 liter V8, and unfortunately we know the 6.2 has been plagued with some problems. The crankshaft issue, the tolerances, the polishing, and the third party supplying some of those parts meant that there's been some issues and some recalls. Now, the amount of failures associated with that 6.2 has been really more around that 3 to 7% failure rate from what I understand. But nonetheless, it still gets a great rating from J.D. Powers for the 25 model year at about 83 out of 100. Definitely top shelf for reliability, fun factor because it looks the part, you feel like a rock star or a rap artist, and ultimately it's just a great, comfortable lumber wagon. Another one you're going to want to get your hands on is the 2026 Acura MDX, largely based on the Pilot from Honda. It's the full-size SUV from the brand. It also carries the same 280 some odd horsepower and a 260 somehow pound-feet of torque. Let's just call it approximately, because it always wears out. Put a few miles on it and you lose a few ponies along the way. But it does feature that 3.5 liter V6 engine, 10-speed automatic transmission, tow capacity of 5,000 pounds. Again, it's a little lower than the Chevys, but it's up there with the same thing you're getting from the Honda Pilot because it's effectively the same vehicle. It's one of the few Acuras with a 3-row, and it's chocked full of technology. There have been some problems with the transmission. There's been a few problems with electrics and the communication between sensors and the brain, but most importantly to note is that 3.5 liter V6 was under scrutiny because of some recalls, because of some crank issues. Now that's carried through a lot of the Honda and Acura products carrying that same engine. That being said, it was a smaller batch number, and you just got to check NHTSA to make sure that you don't buy a vehicle that falls under that VIN sequence. Other than that, it is an absolute gorgeous vehicle built by Honda and one that is definitely worth a look at. Priced accordingly, it's not a cheap vehicle, but it's luxury, and it's one of those few that still carries a naturally aspirated V6 engine. And J.D. Power's rating for that MDX is 83, but compare that to now the next vehicle in line is the Honda Passport, which again is yet another Honda product, very similar to the MDX, although it's been chopped. It's very similar to the Pilot, but take away those third row. It's a little shorter. It also only features the 9-speed automatic transmission, 3.5 liter V6, 280 horsepower, and about 260 pound-feet of torque. 5,000 pounds tow capacity, and the same thing applies, same kind of engine issues. 85 out of 100 based on J.D. Power. It's definitely a reliable workhorse, fun, punchy, and where the Pilot's a little longer, it's a little wallowy, it doesn't handle quite as well because of the long stretched wheelbase. This vehicle definitely has a little extra snap because it's a little less body there, it's a little shorter, it handles a little better, and just feels a little bit more capable. Now that being said, you do give up a couple of seats, so a passenger space for 5 people is all you're going to get. But with a great reliability rating, and certainly that technology you're getting from Honda means that you're getting one of the latest and greatest naturally aspirated products from Honda. Let's face it, everything's going turbos. Even their 1.5 turbos haven't been that amazing, and many other manufacturers are going strictly turbos. Look at Toyota. Where have their engines gone? They've pretty much given up all their naturally aspirated V6s, NA V8s. Everything's gone. Everything's hybrid turbo 6s, turbo 4s, and beyond. Now the next one is the Hyundai Palisade, and take this one with a grain. There were some retaining issues on some of the upper part of the valve train that were a problem, and there was a bit of a recall recently. But with 3.8 liter V6 that's naturally aspirated, it comes with an 8-speed automatic transmission, has lots of seating capacity, for about 7 of you and your friends and minions. Yes, there's lots of room. 5,000 pound tow capacity, 290 horsepower. It's up edge over the Honda. It's also rated at about 85 out of 100 in terms of J.D. Powers. It's a reliable little unit. Check out that recall. Other than that, it seems to be very problem-free. A lot of people love it, and many buyers of these are just loving every single minute of it. It's one of those vehicles, unlike the Theta 2 engines by Hyundai and Kia, which I would run away from, these are actually somewhat dependable and definitely worth a look. The next one is the Chevy Blazer RS. Actually gets ranked by J.D. Powers up around 86 out of 100. Yes, believe it or not, it's a Chevy. 9-speed automatic transmission. It does get that 3.6 liter V6, and I've done this in previous videos about the V6s from Chevy and that 3.6. The first generation was an absolute nightmare, catastrophe waiting to happen. But they've developed them, they've enhanced them. I'm never going to advocate for them being the most reliable engines. I think personally Chevy's best engines from the V6 were the 4.3s and the 3.8s that you found in some of the older products, not like these Chevys. But this 3.6 has been around and it's been utilized for a long period of time. It has just over 300 ponies and just under 300 pound-feet of torque. It's a great little SUV. It looks sporty. The Blazer RS is definitely one that's probably going to be around for a while, especially one of its kin folks are basically rocking EVs or the turbocharged 3-cylinder engines. Nobody wants any of that, so you've got to get the RS. This is a great little SUV. It looks cool, it goes cool, and is actually somewhat reliable. No turbos here, folks. And the Kia Telluride's the next one. With a rating of about 86 out of 100 based on the 25 results by J.D. Powers and reliability ratings, it does fairly well. It's got also 3.8 liter V6, 8-speed automatic, lots of room for your friends and family behind there, just over 4,000 pounds towing capacity. It's a great little hot rod. It's one of those naturally aspirated siblings, and Hyundai Kia essentially building the same vehicle. Just to note that you've got options. If you like Hyundai better, if you like Kia better, maybe neither, but they both carry that V6 engine that is tried and true and seems to be fairly reliable. Can't go wrong over here. The latest, greatest technology, and definitely an interior that almost makes some of the luxury car brands from Germany blush. And a drum roll, we have a Cadillac XT5 Sport. Yeah, 3.6 liters, V6, 310 horsepower. Yeah, it only has a couple thousand pounds of towing capacity. It's a great little ride, but people like them, and they seem to be holding up fairly well. There have been some recalls related to some of the Chevy products, just like these are no different, but they are relatively reliable with a 9-speed automatic transmission, reasonable tow capacity. The latest technology in the suite of plugins means that Chevy is going to offer you a vehicle that many people love. But hang on now. Have you heard the latest with Chevy and GM, what they're doing with CarPlay and some of those Android Auto plugins? That's right. They're almost trying to, I don't want to say it, in my opinion, what I've heard, monopolize their own systems. Subscription services are going to be a big part of some of these products. That's the only downside with a lot of these manufacturers today. But this happens to be one of the more reliable products from Cadillac, GM, Chevy, and surprisingly, it leads the list of the most reliable naturally aspirated SUVs on the market. But where is Toyota? That's right, Toyota is not building any reliable naturally aspirated engines any longer that don't have a tie somehow to hybrid or some other ECVT system. So unfortunately, they don't make the list. But if you are looking for a Toyota, right there, my list of the only Toyotas that I would personally buy, you're going to want to check that out. Hope to see each and every one of you real soon, everybody. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.